and today I'm going to be making some of my favorite holiday cookies. This was one of my favorite traditions growing up. Every single year, my family and I would always dedicate a day and spend almost the entire day baking cookies, all different types of cookies, decorating them, and it's a very fond memory that I have. And it's something that I've continued to do even in my adult life, whether I'm by myself or if it's with my fiance, because it's something that I just really enjoy doing. And I'm going to show you guys how I make them, and I will also drop the links, descriptions down below. So I hope you enjoy. So the sugar cookie recipe I'm using is from Tasty, and I will link that down below. I am making the dough completely from scratch. This is how we always do it, especially being Italian. My family always made everything from scratch. So I'm going to be making the dough, I'm going to be making the icing, and putting it all together. So these are the ingredients with the measurements that you will need for this recipe. I'm going to start by putting in the 3 sticks of softened butter into my large mixing bowl. This is a different recipe than the recipe that my family and I used when I was growing up. It is the first time that I'm making it, and I was trying to make it gluten-free, so I did substitute out the all-purpose flour for gluten-free all-purpose flour. Once I add in the sticks of butter, I'm going to also mix in the sugar and cream cheese. And I'm going to mix it on high for about 5 minutes or so until it does get fluffy. Once it's fluffy, I'm adding in my 2 egg yolks, my 1 egg, my almond and vanilla extracts. And then I'm also mixing those till they're all mixed in together. Then I'm going to add the salt, baking powder, and cream of tartar into the bowl and sift the flour into the bowl as well. And this is where I made a mistake. So it does call for 3.5 cups of flour. Like I said, I was using gluten-free flour, but I didn't have enough gluten-free flour for the full 3.5 cups. So I also mixed in almond flour, which probably was not the best option. So I fold in the flour, and then once I do that, I do mix it with the hand mixer to get it all incorporated. But like I mentioned, mixing in the almond flour probably wasn't the best choice because the dough did come out to be a little bit more sticky and cakey than it probably should have. Once it does get all mixed together, you are supposed to put it on some saran wrap, but I didn't have any, so we used aluminum foil instead. And it is supposed to sit in the refrigerator for about 2 hours. And in that time frame, I did run to the store to get some xanthan gum, which should have been added into my flour mixture since I was using gluten-free flour. In the meantime, while that was sitting in the fridge, I did go ahead and get started on my cinnamon curls to not waste any time. These are the ingredients with the measurements you'll need for the cinnamon curls recipe. It is a fairly simple and easy recipe, and to start off, you're going to put your 2 egg whites into a mixing bowl, which you are then going to mix with an electric hand mixer until you have soft white peaks that form. Once those soft white peaks form, you're going to gradually add in your sugar and continue to mix that until you have stiff white peaks that form. Once you get those stiff white peaks, you do want to combine the flour and the cinnamon, and again I am using gluten-free flour with added xanthan gum this time to keep the batter together. Once I stir those ingredients into the egg whites, I am going to also mix in the cooled melted butter and continue to mix this until it is well blended. Once that's blended, I'm going to turn on my oven to 350 degrees, then take a baking or cookie sheet and I'm going to grease 2 4-inch circles on that baking sheet. I'm only doing 2 at a time because you do need to roll them while they're still hot before they get hard, and you only have time to do about 2 at a time. I'm then taking about a teaspoon of batter and placing it onto each circle. Once I finish doing that, I am going to take a spoon and use the back of it to flatten out the batter because you do want it to be level before you place it into the oven. Once I put it into the oven, I am going to let it cook for about 6 to 8 minutes or until the edges become a golden brown. Once they're golden brown, I know that they're finished. And in this instance, I am going to use a greased chopstick, but the recipe does say to use a greased wooden spoon handle. However, I don't have one of those. So I'm improvising and I'm using a chopstick instead. With the item of choice, you are going to roll the batter before it becomes hardened into a curl and then move it over to the side. While I was finishing up this batch of cinnamon curls, my fiance did take the sugar cookie dough out of the fridge to start working on those. They were a little bit difficult to work with as they weren't really holding their shape well with the cookie cutters, so we didn't know how they were going to turn out, but we continued on and we still went on to bake them. Okay, so it was like a half fail. These cinnamon curls actually came out really good. They don't look as pretty as they normally do, but it's probably because I use the gluten-free flour. And the cookies are just meh. I mean, they're not terrible, but I might try to make another batch. And yeah, so this is gonna be the end of part 1. If I don't get a trip tomorrow, I am starting back on reserve, so we'll see what happens. But if I don't get a trip tomorrow, I'm going to work on decorating them, doing the Ritz cookies, and possibly baking up another batch of these cookies, but trying to do it the right way. So we'll see what happens with that. But thanks for hanging out with me tonight, you guys. I'll catch you on the next vlog.